It's sad to see such a long time friend go, but we have to let it go finally, and the Bad Batch has finally ended. We just watched the last episode of The Bad Batch, Season 3, more specifically, The Cavalry has arrived, and my god, were we mostly wrong. I mean, even the Zillow piece wasn't that invigorating. Whatever you want to feel about this episode, about this finale, it definitely was, I could say underwhelming. I don't want to say that, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that the cliche of everybody survived has kind of started to, resurface, because at the end of the day, we were expecting a dark ending. This is exactly what we were told constantly as, the months and the years were going by. We were like, well, these guys died. At least perhaps maybe Omega survived, but it seems that at the end of the Bad Batch series, everybody survived. Even the little clones who survived, everybody was there. And we see at the end there, Omega has grown up, Hunter is old, and as she clearly says to him, take care of Crosshair and Wrecker, meaning they are alive still. The only one who did make it was Tech, and as I said, in today's video, I want to just go through this finale and just talk about, man, how wrong were we that I guess it was our fault, because at the end of the day, we were expecting something bigger and grander, and it just wasn't that grand. It was good. I liked the finale, but it wasn't spectacular in that sense. As I said, in all of what were we expecting, I was at least expecting something from the Zillow beast, but it didn't do much. It just escaped the facility and, wandered off into the jungle, never to be seen again. I don't know. But at the end of the day, we see that Tech is really, really dead. That assassin was nobody really of significance. Talking about underwhelming, now again, even the clone quote-unquote rebellion, the clone uprising, was not what we expected. Yes, the clones took up arms and they fought against the Empire, against the stormtroopers, against Hemlock, but it just was underwhelming at the end. They died at the training room, at the facility where Hemlock was trying to crack down Hunter and Crosshair and Wrecker. So the clones were dispatched kind of quickly, and they just did what they had to do. They died for their freedom. Some of them, I think, escaped, but there was no Darth Vader. There was no Tech coming back. There wasn't even a Rex. There wasn't a Gregor. And my God, there was no Commander Cody. This series was the one who brought back Commander Cody, and we don't know yet what happened to Commander Cody and what happened to Wolf. Presumably he is still serving the Empire, same as before as we saw him, but we don't have a clear answer as to how they got together, how Rex, Gregor, and Wolf got together. By the end, we see them in Rebels when they are old, therefore leaving the door open completely as to what I've been discussing for weeks now, and that is that Dave Filoni and animation are not yet over. Dave, I think, has a big plan for future animation, and I think one of them is got to be, especially if you saw that ending. Even Hunter suggested that there will be a new series, because once Omega started talking about the rebellion, that they need a new pilot, they need more pilots, Hunter was the one before she went. He said, please call if you need me. So meaning that, yeah, there's definitely going to be a need for Hunter, for Wrecker, and for Crosshair in the future. And even though he is older, Rex is older, everybody's older, it's going to be interesting to see all of these guys together. And as we've discussed previously, I think that Dave Filoni is 1,000,000% with that finale. I'm sure that he is going to bring back a new clone series. Clone Wars are over. The Bad Batch is now over. All that remains is for us to see Rex and the other clones to actually head up the starting of the rebellion. We've got a lot of variance and perspective as to how the rebellion started, and essentially as we see with the other series, like for example with the Obi-Wan series, with the Rebels series, even with video games, we get to see clearly that there was no one start with the rebellion. The Andor series showed it more realistically, that instead of just somebody starting a rebellion, an organization called the Rebel Alliance, and then immediately everything falls into place. It's not how it actually went. There were pockets of rebellion here and there on that planet, on that system. There were not together bands of groups that started attacking the Empire, and eventually, as we see with these factions, they all come together and form up what would be ultimately known as the Rebellion, as we see in A New Hope and the original trilogy. So I think contributing to these pockets that attack the Empire will definitely be the rogue clones that have now taken up arms against the Empire, formerly known as the Republic. The Chancellor betrayed them, started wiping off clones or experimenting on them. This is something that the clones will never forget and will never forgive. As we see, Rex is heading up his own organization together with Echo. Now Omega is involved, as we see in the finale. The older Bad Batch should be coming back. Wolf eventually will defect from the Empire too, and unfortunately by the end, because we don't see Commander Cody in Rebels, I think we will see him in this new series, but he will probably die inside that series, and it would be great, I think, to actually fulfill the promise of a dark ending, because as I said, I don't think the Bad Batch ended on a sour note at all. Basically, everybody survived, and Tech didn't even die in this season, he died in the previous season. So, essentially, we were all up in speculation because we got, very mixing comments, very mixed reactions from a lot of the insiders and from a lot of people who were saying that it's gonna be super dark. Even some of the writers of the show hinted that. I mean, that ramp scene above where Crosshair finally hits a precise shot and frees Omega, that killing of Hemlock was just great. That whole scene, the tension of it, was spectacular. It was beautiful. It was poetry. It was dark, but it wasn't the darkness we were expecting. We were expecting, and I'm thinking a lot of fans did want this, that somebody should have sacrificed himself, or at the very least, there should have been more of a tension in there, except for Hemlock is holding Omega hostage, but by the end, even Omega says that you need me too, so you're not gonna kill me. So that kind of relieved the tension, and at the end of the day, I think watching this series back with rose-colored glasses, when I'm older and when I watch it, I'm gonna really love it more. I like it now, I don't love it, but I think as I grow older, I'm gonna love it. Knowing that these guys are still out there, because at this point, there is no really arguing this, particular subject, is that I know ever since Disney took over, we know that there is so much around Luke Skywalker. When I first saw, when I was a kid, when I saw Luke, Obi-Wan thought he was the only hope. And Yoda mentioned that there is another, so we thought at the end of Return of the Jedi that, yeah, it was Leia. All these comments in the end now are kind of subsided, because we know that there are many, many Jedi survivors of Order 66 out there in the galaxy. They're just not participating. I mean, one of the main ones, Ahsoka, doesn't even participate in the original trilogy, which is funny. And there's so many, as you see now, clones and people who really are of significance who did not come at the aid of Luke Skywalker, or they were extremely background characters at the back where we didn't even feel their influence. It is weird, definitely, but myself, I'm now completely focused on this new series by Dave Filoni. I want to see and to have some sort of news more so than what Dave Filoni is actually planning. I know that now we have Tales of the Empire in a couple of days, and I'm really excited about that, but I think that there's definitely a Clone Rebellion series coming, where clones like Rex and the others are gonna go against the Empire, and these are the Dark Times era. We see that they're struggling. This is a mishmash of clones, butting heads. Hauser, I forgot about him too, so it should be pretty interesting, them going up against stormtroopers who are not really experienced in war. Fascinating stuff. And tell me, do you want this new series coming very, very soon? At least some news. Tell me this down below in the comments.